Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 10th, 2024, and Frenkie de Jong has been ruled out of the Euros. Also, the club have spoken about when could Gavi return to the playing field. And finally, Ilkay Gundogan has once again criticized his teammates and sent a little dig to Xavi Hernandez. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and before we begin with the news, just a quick reminder to make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. All of this helps this channel continue to grow. Also, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the gift bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. Both links for gift bag and Bet Us are down below in the description. Now begin this video with the news that Ronaldinho Gaucho is said to be honored in Castelldefels. Now, if you don't know what Castelldefels is, it's the suburbs of the city of Barcelona. That's where a lot of the players live there. And Castelldefels are set to honor Ronaldinho with a star. They kind of have a Walk of Fame, kind of similar to that Hollywood Walk of Fame. They have a version of it, a bootleg version of it, if you ask me. But they are set to honor Ronaldinho by adding a star with his name on that Walk of Fame. There's going to be a special ceremony that's going to be attended by the mayor of Castelldefels. Also, Joan Laporta will be invited to the ceremony. And of course, the honoree of that ceremony will be Ronaldinho, who will be there to receive this honor, which I think, it's pretty cool. It might not be this huge news, but, we cannot forget what a legend Ronaldinho is. In fact, he was my favorite player when I was a little kid. That's how I became a Barcelona fan, because at the time I was a huge fan of the 2002 Brazilian squad, and one of the best squads in the history of football, with players like Ronaldo Nazario, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldinho, etc. I was a big fan of that squad. Ronaldinho was my favorite player. I know a lot of people liked Ronaldo Nazario. I prefer Ronaldinho. So when he signed for Barcelona, that's when I became a Barcelona fan. That was, of course, 20 years ago. I feel old saying that, but it was really cool to see one of our legends being honored with the star in the bootleg Walk of Fame of Castelldefels. Anyways, more news. This is more important news or bigger news, because Frenkie de Jong has been ruled out from the Euros. Now, as you know, Frenkie de Jong suffered that ankle injury. I think it was his third ankle injury this season. He suffered his last one against Real Madrid, and as such, his season was cut short, and he was still recovering from this injury when he joined the Dutch training camp. Of course, he did do that interview recently where he said he was willing to risk it all to play the Euros, which I did not like at all. But now it's been confirmed that Frenkie de Jong has been ruled out of the Euros because he has not recovered in time. And this was confirmed by the player himself, who posted on social media that, he wasn't going to be able to participate. Of course, sad news for the player, because every player dreams of representing their nation at the highest stages. So sad news for Frenkie de Jong, but good news for Barcelona, because that means that Frenkie will get to spend, the rest of the summer recovering, getting healthy, and getting ready for the next season. Because, as I said when I first reported about Frenkie de Jong's statements where he said he was willing to risk it, I said I did not like that one bit, because, playing with an injury could end up making the injury much worse, could end up needing surgery, and that would mean that Frenkie de Jong's next season would be completely shot, kind of like Courtois, who missed an entire season. Or even worse, it could end up ending his career. We all remember what Samuel Umtiti went through, where the club told him he needed to undergo knee surgery. He decided to ignore the club's instructions and play the 2018 World Cup, and he has never been the same, and it's been 6 years. So Frenkie de Jong could have easily risked ending his career, and of course, who would have paid for that the most? Barcelona, because Barcelona would have still had to pay Frenkie de Jong's medical bills. And most importantly, they would have to pay his entire salary, which is the highest salary on the squad. So even though it's bad news for Frenkie, it's good news for Barcelona, because now Frenkie will get the time to recuperate and not risk ending his career or never being the same player just because he wants to participate in the Euros, which to me honestly does not make sense. Why would you want to play a 1-month competition and risk ending the rest of your career where you could play the rest of your career and miss 1 month of playtime? I don't know, but I'm not a football player, so I guess I cannot say definitively. Now, speaking of injuries, we do have to talk about Gavi because Barcelona has discussed his possible or his non-return date. Now, there's been a lot of reports that Gavi could be coming back. Some were saying at the beginning of the season, some were saying October, some were saying November. Of course, if you don't remember, Gavi did suffer a torn, I think it was an ACL, one of those ligaments in his knee. He had to undergo a surgery. Of course, those surgeries, it takes several months to recover from, 9 months, sometimes a year. And there were reports saying that Gavi could be coming back by October, maybe November, maybe at the beginning of the season. And while the club has now clarified that there is no date for the return of Gavi. Now, this does not mean that Gavi's super injured and that's why there is no date. No, the reason why Barcelona don't want to set a deadline for Gavi's return is because Barcelona do not want to take any risks whatsoever with Gavi. Barcelona want Gavi to recover 100%. They want him to get back to his previous state before the injury 100%. And Barcelona don't care how long it takes. If it takes a year, if it takes 2, they don't care. They want Gavi to take as long as he needs to. They want to be 100% sure that he's fully recovered before playing him. And as such, they are not willing to set a deadline because they don't want to go ahead and set a deadline. And then as the deadline starts to get closer, rush the recovery of Gavi. They don't want to do that. They want to take zero risks with the player. They want him to take as long as he needs. And once he's ready, once he's 100% ready and the club are 100% sure that he's ready, then he will come back. When will that be? We don't know. But I do like this approach. I think we should not gamble with Gavi's career. After all, he's only 20 years old. He has a very, very long career ahead of him. So I'm very, very happy to hear that Barcelona are safeguarding our young warrior and they're not willing to rush him back or to risk his health. Now we will end this video by talking about Ilkay Gundogan because the German-Turkish midfielder has once again fired shots at Barcelona's locker room and also at Xavi Hernandez. Now Gundogan is not a player to shy away from speaking the truth. We all saw what happened after Barcelona lost against Real Madrid, where Gundogan came into the locker room and the players were joking around, they were laughing, they were on their cell phones, and he got absolutely upset. He roasted everybody. He said, "What are you guys laughing about? What are you guys having fun? We just got humiliated by our arch rival, and here you guys are having fun, like you're not taking this seriously." Of course, he was criticized for that. I defended him. I said that's exactly the attitude that we need. You cannot go out there, get humiliated by your opponent in your home stadium, and then, take it as like, whatever. That's not the kind of attitude that champions are made of. And of course, there was also the whole incident where Ilkay Gundogan kind of criticized Ronald Araujo after that PSG match, where he said it wasn't really a criticism, it was more giving his honest opinion, saying that Ronald Araujo perhaps shouldn't have committed that foul, that he should have allowed the PSG player to just go into the box and just give Ter Stegen, the chance to save the goal. Or maybe even if he did score, at least Barcelona would have still been 11 versus 11, and Barcelona would have been up on the scoreboard, so it would have been a big deal. Of course, he also received the criticism for that. Ronald Araujo did not like that at all. And now Ilkay Gundogan has spoken about that incident. Now, this is what Ilkay Gundogan had to say. "I talked about us as a team, not just Ronald. You'll see if you review my statements in full. I also make mistakes, and I admit them. If you are not prepared to admit mistakes, you cannot succeed." This is a very, very important statement, so I'll repeat it again. If you are not prepared to admit mistakes, you cannot succeed. Now, I have to say I agree 1,000,000% with Ilkay Gundogan. This is FC Barcelona. If you want to be playing at one of the biggest clubs in the world, if you want to be a champion, if you want to be a winner, you have to be able to admit your mistakes. You have to be able to accept criticism in order to improve. Otherwise, there's no room for you at this club. And this is one of the reasons why I always criticize Xavi, when I used to say Xavi cannot take us back to glory days. We cannot be competitive or winners under Xavi, because one thing Xavi always failed to do was admit his mistakes, because time and time again in press conferences, when we lost against Girona by 4 goals the first time, when we lost against Girona by 4 goals the second time, every time he would get on the mic and say, we were better, we deserved more, we deserved to win. And I always said, until Xavi admits that there's something wrong, the team cannot improve, because how can you fix something if you don't believe that something needs fixing? So I agree 100% with Ilkay Gundogan. If you cannot admit mistakes, you cannot succeed. I'm glad he said that. I'm glad we have a player with that kind of mentality in our locker room. And I hope that Hansi Flick can instill that same mentality into our players. Otherwise, we're not going to be competitive. Now, Ilkay Gundogan also spoke about Xavi Hernandez, not directly, but kind of in an indirect way. But this is what the Turkish-German midfielder had to say. Coaches create the complete model that their team follows. A really good coach can make a team stand out and make a player bigger than it already is. At Bayer Leverkusen, Xabi Alonso turned Grimaldo into a top-level player. Nobody noticed him before this season. Now, I do have to say, I kind of agree, but I also disagree with these statements. Ilkay Gundogan says that a good coach can make a player bigger than what he really is. I kind of disagree with that. I think a good coach can make a player play to his top level. If, for example, let's pretend this is FIFA. If a player is a level 90, I think a good coach can allow that player to play at level 90, or a bad coach would have that player play at a level 70, even though he's capable of 90. But I don't think a good coach can make a player who's level 90 play at a level 100. I don't think that's possible, but I do see his point. And also, he does talk about the coaches having, influence on the player. I think the coaches have more influence on the team as a whole. This is how we are able to see, coaches like Mitchell, who have a budget of 60 million euros a year, build a team who is capable of competing in the Champions League, because they just qualified to the Champions League for the first time in their history. A team that beat us twice, scoring 8 goals against us. And again, they have a budget of 60 million euros a year, where Barcelona have a 900 million euro budget, and Barcelona spent 300 million euros on signings for Xavi, and we couldn't even beat Girona, a much, much smaller team. So I do agree with Ilkay Gundogan in that aspect, that a good coach that lays a good model can turn a small team into a big one. But I don't necessarily agree that a good coach can make a player play above his level. I think a good coach can make a player play at his maximum level. But I am curious to hear what you guys think, so let me know down below. Anyways, this is the last video of the day. Again, I posted 2 videos earlier, so 3 total. Make sure to check them out. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.